Hello everyone, I am here today with my completed Denver trip album. Woohoo! I went in early May, and so you can kind of do the math and see how long that took me. It's actually pretty fast for me. Usually I have projects sitting around like a year, if it's not my normal albums that I do on a yearly basis. So this is pretty good. I'm impressed with myself that it's done already. And after it was done, I gathered some stats for you. So in here I have 20 page protectors. So 20 of these in all different styles. I have 5 inserts, and you'll see those different types of inserts as we go. And then I have 9 photo flips in there. So that kind of gives you an idea that there's a lot packed in here. So let's get started. For my opening page here, and actually, before I even go to that, I'm going to say a lot of these cards that I've used are digital files from In a Creative Bubble. So if you've never looked at her products, you need to do it. It's very travel heavy. She travels a great deal just in her personal life. So it's a lot of travel things, but there are other miscellaneous themes as well. So go out and take a look at those if you would like. So for this opening page, I have used some digital files here. This is a digital card. This suitcase it was from a seller on Etsy. I just printed it and cut it. Geotag here, I know that one's from Coco Daisy. This camera is from the same seller, I believe, as this suitcase. So that was a digital file. I just printed it and cut it. And then all I really did here was I just took a copy of my boarding pass and included it on there. The next layout here, it's double page plus. Here's one of the inserts I was talking about. There you go. This is just about how I got to the airport, because I did it a little differently this time. Normally, I'll drive myself and I'll park if I have to, or I'll have somebody drop me if they're available. This time I had to leave really early in the morning, and I didn't want to ask anybody to drive me out there at that time. So I figured, what are my other options? Sometimes I'll take the train. I can't get the train directly from my house, though. I have to go into downtown. So I found out, though, that if I could get to Union Depot, there's an express bus that's even faster than the train, which I don't know how I didn't know about that before, but I know about it now. So I actually took the bus, and this is just waiting inside the station. I was plenty early because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. So it's just, this part is kind of about just hanging around, waiting for my bus to pick me up so I could go. And another digital card there that I printed, and this is a digital element as well. As you can see, these match. So they're from the same set, which works out quite nicely. And then this is just my view coming in to the airport here. And I used a little flare there. That's from the Here and There line from Crate Paper, if I'm not mistaken. And then on the back, now I'm inside the Minneapolis airport, and I found this it's like a food truck, but it's parked in the airport. It's called the Salty Tart. Well, if you give it a name like that, of course I'm going to have to go check it out. I mean, that's a cool name. So I went in there and I actually got myself some breakfast while I was waiting for my flight. And then I just took the receipt and added it on here, which I do a lot. I like to save receipts. I just think it's a cool element. So I put that on there as well. And then this is now once I've arrived at the Denver airport. So you can see the mountains out there. And when you're passing, I took the light rail out of the airport, and so when you're passing out on the train out of the airport, you can see the little sign that says Denver Airport on the side. And then here's just a peek from inside the train there. It was pretty empty because it was still early in the day. It was about 10-ish, I think. So commuters were done, anybody that was going to from the airport done, and it was really quiet. So then my first major stop was Union Station downtown. So the light rail goes right into Union Station, and then it veers off onto other lines or routes. But I wanted to stop there. I needed to be in downtown anyway. And this is a good hangout place. If you've never been to Denver, or if you have but you've never stopped into the refurbished Union Station, I highly recommend it. They've made it quite posh inside now, so it's quite nice to just sit and relax. They have charging stations everywhere, big comfy chairs, some games, and then all around the outer section are shops and cafes and things like that. I included my light rail and bus pass. Here, this was a coaster that they had inside Union Station. They had them sitting out on a bunch of the tables, so I took one. And then just a little bit of a look inside Union Station. Added some wood veneer here and washi and kept it pretty simple. And then on this side of the page, these don't really go together, but on this side, I featured my coffee. They have a place inside Union Station called Pig Train Coffee, and I love it. Anytime I'm anywhere near Union Station, I have to go because I just love their coffee so much. So I got myself a coffee and I got myself a snack since it was about lunchtime then, and just enjoyed myself hanging around there. And then there's another receipt for my purchase. And then when I was done with that, I took off towards the art museum and I used the free mall ride. So again, if you've never been to Denver, they have something that goes along 16th Street, which is, it's a very good area for people watching, but it's also in the heart of downtown. So you can use it for just touristy stuff, or if you're working down there, you can use it. But this ride will take you all the way up and down 16th and you don't pay for it, which is awesome. So I have my little map here that I took it from Union Station pretty much up to the end of the line, which is very near Civic Park. And that was my next destination, so it worked out perfectly. Now, these photos feature being inside Civic Park. So I took some pictures of the statues and the architecture here because it's pretty fabulous. And then here's a photo flip right here. So just some more features there that you could see from the park. And they had something going on that day. They had a bunch of food trucks that were around. Signs and stuff happening. I don't know. I'm guessing that's not a normal thing every day of the week. But kind of fun to see that going on. And then I made my way from there. Pretty much you just walk straight through it. You come out the other side. The Central Library is there. And then just beyond that is the Art Museum. So it was a perfect location for me. Very easy to get around to all the places that I needed, which is nice. So I've got another digital card here. I just added a phrase sticker, included my photos, and then I put some metallic washi on this side to bring out some of the colors. Hello there. That's one of my cats. And then I matched it over here so that they would be cohesive and look like they go together. And then here's another one of these inserts. This is a 3x8 insert. So I have two 3x4s here. These come from Allie Edwards. So if you're looking for this type of a page protector insert, Allie Edwards is where you get it. And then I also attached a photo flip on this one because I needed a little bit more space. All right, on this next layout, I was actually at the Art Museum for a Degas exhibit, but while I was waiting for my timed entry, I found this exhibit, and so I took some photos, and I wanted to include them here as well. Then it was on to Degas, so this was the whole reason for the trip, right here. Yes, I will travel for art. So here is this layout, and these all kind of go together, this side plus the insert. I tried to make them somewhat match so that it would feel like a cohesive layout. So here's another insert that I have. And I like to use those when I have maybe one or two extra photos that just don't fit in the configuration that I have. So it's nice to have that option to work that in. And I didn't do a whole lot to these. I just used some basic stickers, some subtly patterned washi, and some rhinestones. So there's more on the exhibit there. Painting and a sculpture on this one here. And then this was actually the sticker that you get to go into the exhibit. So I peeled it off very carefully when I was done and I kept it. And here I didn't do much at all, really. I inked the edges and then I just used these cork hearts and that was it. I wanted the focus to be the art, not the stuff. So now we're moving on to some parts of the exhibit that had much more color than what was on this side here. And pink was a prominent color in some of these, and I'm not usually a huge pink person, but I thought, well, if it's in there, I can make that work. And so that's what I did here. And again, pretty simple, just some phrases, a rhinestone to bring in this color, and I just got lucky that I still had this phrase. It's a Heidi Swap cutout phrase that I had, and it just happened to match. So I thought, well, I'll use it then. More artwork here. Again, I wanted that to be the focus, so I kept everything else pretty simple. Like this just has a phrase and a little washi. That's it. Same over here. And then on this side, this is just a quote by Degas that I thought was interesting. And I made it match this side of the layout so that they would look like they go together. This is one of my favorite layouts from this album. It's got Heidi's Shine on there. I put on a few little sequins, sequins, and just some washi, you know, plain phrases, but I think it brings it all together with these different colors. And then here's another larger photo, and actually this one, it may be hard to tell, this is actually a postcard. Now this one is my photo. I just zoomed in as close as I could on the canvas and took this, so that one's mine. And I just added just a little bit of stamping, some wood veneer hearts washi, and left it alone. Again, look at this beautiful dress that he painted. I want that to be the focus. And then on this side, these are all photos from the gift shop. And yes, another receipt. Once I was done at the exhibit, right across the street is the main library in Denver, the biggest one. And so I went over there and I hung out for a while. I actually had to do some work while I was there, and so I just sat, I think it was for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and just enjoyed the architecture of the lovely building and got some work done. And then it was time to go meet a friend of mine and my goddaughter for dinner. And so I just walked down. I mapped how to get there from the library. It wasn't far at all. And so I walked down there through the city, and I got to Sam's No. 3, which is my favorite place to eat in Denver. It was featured on Drive-Ins, Dives, Diners, whatever that show is. It was featured on there, and for a good reason. Their food is fantastic. So if you're in Denver, give it a try. And then after that, I actually chose to stay at a hostel this time. Normally I'll just do a hotel or I'll stay with my friend. But I wanted to try this new hostel that had opened. And it's actually more of like a mix between a hostel and a B&B. And look at the architecture. This is what drew me to it, because I love this old house and I love how they've done the inside here. So that was what drew me. And my room was huge. You would never find that size of a room in a regular hostel. So that was kind of a fun experience. However, as I wrote about, you know, under here and about the breakfast, it was very odd. Normally when you stay at a hostel, people talk to each other. That's why they're staying at a hostel. They want the interaction. They don't want a sterile hotel environment. But here, like, nobody talked. It was very strange. I don't know if it was just too early for some people or they hadn't had their coffee or what, but I just felt like, you know what, nobody really wants to have a conversation, so I'm going to sit here quietly, eat my breakfast, and then I'm going to go. So that's what I did. And then this was just walking through the neighborhood, because it was a really cool neighborhood between where I stayed and the botanical gardens. That's one of the other reasons I chose that location, is because it was close enough for me to walk to the gardens, which was the last thing I wanted to do in Denver before I flew back home. So here are just some photos of the lovely neighborhood. And then I made it to the garden. And so I have my receipt here. I went to the Japanese garden first. So that's what's featured here. A little wood veneer there and here. And then they had a sculpture exhibit going on called Pixelated. So you can kind of see by the look of it what that means. It's like old gaming style. So I wasn't the hugest fan of those. I mean, they were fun, but they've had other exhibits there that I really enjoyed a lot more, but it was okay to see them. So I just included a couple, but certainly not all of them. This is what I was really here for. I knew that their tulips were in bloom, whereas in Minnesota at that time, they were not. We had such a late spring that nothing was really up here. So to go to Denver and see that theirs were all in full bloom was such a treat. So I spent a lot of time just walking amongst the tulips. You can see they had some other things up as well. And then I have a couple of these 3D flowers featured in here. You buy them in a pack and they come with a set of 3 layers. And you could do it without Pop Dots, but I always put at least 1 layer of Pop Dots under there just to really make the layering stand out. So you'll see a couple more of those. And then just more photos with little embellishments to enhance them. And then here's one that has a flip under there. Their irises were also up, which I didn't expect. And so I spent a lot of time in the iris beds as well because they were so gorgeous. So I have another flip there, and then here's another one of those 3D flowers. And then on this side, I love Chihuly, and that's a piece that he did specifically for Denver. So I had to get my picture taken with it again. I just did a quick selfie. And I had this fun little rubber bike embellishment. I thought, well, that's perfect. It's even got flowers in the basket. And then these were also in bloom, and then I included another 3D flower here because I thought it matched pretty well with my card and the style. And then lastly, the closing page. So this one is just all about transportation because when I left the gardens, in order to get from there to the airport, I needed to take a bus and then the train. So I screenshotted my route, which is another thing I love to do when I'm traveling, is to take the screenshot. It shows exactly where I need to go and how long it's going to take me. It took me about an hour. And then I got a shot of the train pulling into the airport here. And I put a little rub on that says departure because I was leaving. And then picture of my plane as I was waiting in my seat there. And then just a little bit of journaling on how it all went. And then under here, I even included my meal. I had enough time. I always like to get to the airport pretty early. I have missed a flight before and nearly missed several. So as I've gotten older, I go earlier. So I had time for a nice little meal while I waited. So I included that as well. So that is my Denver album. I hope you've enjoyed watching me do this series and put it all together. And I hope it inspires you to use some pocket pages when you do your next travel album. Thanks for watching, everybody.